Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm in my 6th year post-TOS surgery, competing at a Division I level right now at the University of Alabama. And for me, it can be very different than what other people have. But for me personally, I know that I've done too much if I start to feel any tingling in my fingers, if my arm starts to feel very heavy, tightness in my forearm and bicep, I start to see a little discoloration, and I start to lose the functionality and ability to control my arm in an overhead method that is efficient in the water. Because for swimming as a backstroker, it's very overhead motion, and the ability to maintain a tempo and maintain the depth of my stroke and the catch in the water, I lose the ability to do that efficiently, and I start to feel a little bit heavy. So those are some things for me as a swimmer. But for other people, it can be very different. You can start to feel tingleness in your fingers and your arm. You start to have your arm feel like it's falling asleep, start to get a little numbness. You can get tightness even up into the fingers, forearm. And again, for me, I have venous TOS, so it starts to get very heavy, very tight. But for other people, it's not all one size fits all. But that's how it feels for me when I know I've done too much, and that's when I immediately get out and start my treatment regimen. The way I know if it's serious or not, I kind of base that off of my initial diagnosis and my pain threshold then, and also seeing that typically after I do my recovery regimen and have done everything I need to do to make sure that I'm ready for the next practice or for the next day. Typically, if the pain isn't gone within 30 minutes or during the rehab, and it's still there like a couple hours or even the next day later, then I know that we have something serious and I might want to get that checked out. But typically for me, my recovery, when I know I have an issue, I go through some very specific steps in recovery that make it so that I know that I'll feel better the next day. And if I don't do those, then the issue may go on further. The symptoms may continue to get worse, and that's when I have an issue and I could need to go to the doctor. If I feel great and it's a very hard practice, odds are I will still do the same recovery as if I had a flare-up, and that's just because I know that for me it takes a lot longer for my body to recover because I have damage, and in doing so I need to make sure that I'm ready for the next practice. Now if it's an easy practice and I feel great, I probably won't do a lot. I may do a little bit to make sure that I'm ready, but if I'm feeling great and it's an easier practice, I kind of like back off. I feel like my body can recover well on its own. But if I have a very difficult practice and I feel great, I still need to stay on top of it because I can't get complacent, because when I get complacent, that's when things start to catch up to me and I begin to have more and more flare-ups. For a swimmer, I gotta make sure that I'm getting enough protein after practice. I gotta make sure that I'm drinking enough water. I think hydration is one of the most important things. I've noticed that I can be doing everything right, but I didn't drink enough water for that day or the day before. That can lead to an issue with my venous return. And then just doing the things that I need to do in the training room, whether it's using the Marc Pro, using the Venom, getting a massage in my arm, wrapping it in an ACE wrap. Doing those things help me feel better by the end of the day, by the end of the time I'm done with my rehab and recovery, and so that I'm ready to go the next day. So a Marc Pro is a device that you have 4 nodes that go on your hand, forearm, bicep, and tricep. And it's like an electrical shock. For me, it helps to do that after I've either gotten a massage that will kind of drain the blood out of my arm, or I wrap it in an ACE wrap and kind of just hang it and let the blood drain out. And doing that, it activates the muscles, shocks the muscles to get the blood flowing again, and make sure I feel fresh afterwards. I know some people in baseball, they use it as a way to warm up actually, and it's been proven to help them a lot, especially pitchers. So I use it after practice and sometimes even before practice if I know I'm gonna have a very hard practice, because it helps activate my muscles and it helps recovery, but it also helps me get ready to go. So even for race days, I'll do it before I warm up, because I know my body has to be dialed in for that specific time. And so using that helps out a lot. And then a Venom is it's a shoulder wrap that I use. They have back, they have knees, they have all different parts of the body, but I use it for my shoulder, and it essentially heats the body, and it also sends like little shocks, and it will help activate the area. So I use it more specifically for this area to kind of loosen up the thoracic cavity. And then from there, if I'm feeling loose, I won't really do anything else. But if I'm not feeling loose, then I'll get a pec release from my athletic trainer, and that helps really open up the blood area, the thoracic cavity. It opens up that area for the blood to flow through, and it prevents me from having an issue later on in practice. So those are kind of some things I do before and also after practice to help. Yeah, so a pec release is kind of where I'll be laying on the edge of a training table, and my athletic trainer will put a lot of pressure in here, kind of looking for the pec minor, and kind of just open up the arm area like this, putting some pressure. It hurts sometimes, but it really helps me open up that area, prevent anything from pinching the vein, pinching the nerve. Some other stretches I do is I put a foam roller between my shoulder blades on my spine, and I can just sit there and put my arms back and kind of open up that area, because when you open up this area, it's going to prevent the issues from happening. And that's kind of it's the main area where issues can occur. And so in doing so, I try to make sure that area is as loose as possible, because we don't want to have any problems when I'm performing at a high level. Yeah, so my main issue is venous return, and getting the blood to go out of my arm is the main problem. So our goal and everything that we're doing is trying to get the blood out of my arm. Now I use a compression sleeve when I'm practicing, and that kind of helps me keep my capillaries closed so it can still push the blood out. And that's been proven to help me out a lot so far. Well, so the pec release and the Venom are mostly things I do before practice to kind of open up the area, and then the Marc Pro, the massage, using an A-strap, that's kind of things I do afterwards. The only thing that I do that kind of can go before and after is using the Marc Pro, because it helps me feel recovered, and at the same time it helps me feel activated. I mean, I think that this can go for all swimmers, not just those that have venous deficiencies, but know when you need to try and know when you don't need to. I think that's the most important thing, looking at a practice and saying, okay, we're gonna do stuff at this heart rate, and this heart rate, knowing that those specific areas that are designed for me to go max effort, and making sure that I'm not going max effort on something that's supposed to be easy, because then if I'm doing that and maximizing the time, my work to rest ratio, and making sure that I am on top of going when I need to go and backing off when I need to back off as designed in the practice, that's the most important thing. Because if you're going when you don't necessarily need to go, you can drain yourself out really quickly. You can cause more issues to happen, because at the end of the day, it's not really, the practice is designed to go a certain way. And so making sure that you're on top of knowing what effort level you're supposed to give, that's the most important thing. And there's going to be some days where the effort level that's demanded, you're going to give that and you'll have an issue, and it's not the end of the world. Just make sure that you stay on top of what you need to do to recover. Don't be afraid to stand up for your body and let people know that something's going on. Don't just hide it, because if you do that, then even worse things can happen.